The air in Liberty Trust Bank hung thick with tension as branch manager Gregory Caldwell's voice sliced through the quiet hum of afternoon transactions. "Ma'am, I'll need you to empty your pockets and step away from my desk immediately," he demanded, rising so abruptly his leather chair screeched against the polished floor. His finger jabbed toward the black woman seated across from him, her faded denim jacket and worn sneakers a stark contrast to the mahogany and marble opulence of the financial institution. Every head in the lobby swiveled, the young couple applying for a mortgage, the retired teacher depositing her pension check, all frozen mid-motion. Gregory didn't bother masking his disdain as he snatched a bottle of sanitizer from his drawer, pumping it 3 times with a flourish. "Let's be real, folks like you don't waltz in here asking for 7-figure loans," he scoffed, rubbing his hands together as if scrubbing away the audacity. Dr. Eleanor Shaw didn't flinch. Her phone buzzed against the desk, the screen flashing Senator Mitchell's office. She silenced it without breaking eye contact, her calm unnerving. "Perhaps we could continue this conversation in private," she suggested, her voice low but razor sharp. Gregory barked a laugh, turning toward Mrs. Delaney, the silver-haired widow at the next desk. "Transparency's the cornerstone of banking, don't you think?" he announced, relishing the way the elderly woman shrunk into her pearls. Near the vault teller, Javier Mendez gripped his counter, torn between the rent money his job provided and the bile rising in his throat. Behind him, college intern Zoe Nguyen discreetly angled her phone, her livestream viewer count exploding 800, 200, 2,000 comments screaming, "This is wild," and "Call the news." Gregory, oblivious, theatrically flipped open Eleanor's loan file. "Ah yes, the Unity Investment Initiative," he read, dripping sarcasm. "Because what we really need is another handout program for—" The glass doors hissed open. A man in a tailored navy suit strode in, flanked by 2 aides clutching embossed portfolios. "Director Shaw," he called, extending a hand. "Apologies for the delay, the Federal Reserve briefing ran long." The lobby erupted in whispers. Gregory's smirk faltered as the newcomer turned to him, icy smile intact. "Mr. Caldwell, was it? I'm David Mercer, CFO of Liberty's parent company. We've been reviewing your branch's customer engagement metrics." He paused, glancing at Zoe's still recording phone. "Fascinating stuff." Eleanor finally stood, smoothing her jacket. "Actually, David," she said, sweet as poisoned honey, "Mr. Caldwell was just explaining why my kind shouldn't bother with big dreams." She slid the loan file toward him. "But I'd love to hear his thoughts on the $25 million in federal grants we're allocating to banks with inclusive leadership." Somewhere by the ATM, a customer dropped their latte. Javier stopped breathing. And Gregory. For the first time in his 23-year career, he had absolutely nothing to say. The roar of the helicopter blades sent papers flying from Gregory's abandoned desk like confetti at a funeral, his funeral to be exact. President Chen stormed through the doors, his Italian loafers squeaking against the marble as he skidded to a stop before Eleanor. For a man who'd just lost $200 million in market cap, he was impressively composed if you ignored the vein throbbing in his forehead. "Dr. Shaw," he panted, extending a hand that was noticeably damper than his 3K suit. "Let me start by saying—" Eleanor didn't shake it, just held up her phone where a CNBC alert blared, "Liberty Trust stock in freefall. Senator Mitchell announces Emergency Banking Equality Act vote tomorrow." Chen's lawyers visibly gulped, then the twist that broke the internet again. A shrill ding-dong echoed through the lobby. Everyone turned as the bank's own AI assistant, a perky digital avatar named Libby, suddenly flickered to life on the wall screen. "Alert, corporate memo received. All Liberty Trust branches to undergo mandatory diversity training. CEO announces zero-tolerance discrimination policy." The avatar paused, then with impeccable comedic timing added, "P.S. Congrats to Maria Gonzalez on her promotion. New boss, same struggle." The lobby erupted. Maria, still behind the bulletproof glass, burst into tears as her fellow tellers cheered. Over by the vault, Luis popped a bottle of non-alcoholic champagne bank policy and sprayed it like they'd just won the Super Bowl. Chen looked like he might vomit. Dr. Shaw, surely we can compensate every wronged customer, absolutely, Eleanor interrupted, sliding a document across the desk. Here's my proposal: 50 million restitution fund, quarterly federal audits, and public apologies to every minority applicant denied since 2020. She smiled. Or we let Senator Mitchell's bill pass unamended. Your choice. The lawyers started whispering frantically about class action exposure and shareholder revolts. Chen's phone buzzed again with an alert that the SEC had just launched an inquiry. Outside, the news crews were now interviewing customers in line. This bank denied my food truck loan last week, a man shouted into a CBS mic. They said my business model was too risky, but my cousin Greg got approved for his tanning salon with worse credit. Zoe's livestream hit 500,000 viewers as the hashtag #BankingWhileBlack overtook TikTok. And Gregory. As two uniformed officers led him past the cheering crowd, his tailored suit now wrinkled beyond salvation, he finally understood the real cost of discrimination. It wasn't just the fines, or the handcuffs, or even the viral meme of his face photoshopped onto a Monopoly go-to-jail card. It was the legacy he'd left etched into internet history, immortalized in congressional testimony, and scrubbed from Liberty Trust's website before his mugshot even hit TMZ. As the glass doors hissed shut behind him, Eleanor's voice carried one final blow. Oh, and Mr. Chen Do, send my regards to the board. She tapped her briefcase. I'll be seeing them very soon. Somewhere in the distance, a single balloon escaped from a nearby birthday party, rising until it popped against Liberty Trust's plummeting stock price on the ticker, Poetic Justice. The tension in the lobby was so thick, even the bank's AI assistant Libby had gone silent. President Chen's designer cufflinks caught the light as he wiped his forehead with a monogrammed handkerchief, $300 worth of silk now reduced to a stress rag. His lawyer's tablets buzzed simultaneously with what could only be described as corporate panic in digital form. Then the twist that made Agent Williams smirk. A sharp ping echoed through the lobby as every customer's phone lit up with the same CNN alert. Breaking Treasury Secretary announces emergency audit of Liberty Trust's 87 branches nationwide following viral discrimination incident. Chen made a noise like a deflating balloon. His lead attorney, Park, suddenly found the ceiling fascinating, avoiding eye contact like a man who just realized his golden parachute had a hole in it. Eleanor let the silence simmer before delivering the killing blow. She tapped her federal manual. Section 102.26. Mr. Chen knowingly submitting false compliance reports carries personal liability for bank executives. She paused. Especially when those reports omitted this. With a magician's flourish, she produced a single sheet, Gregory's now infamous code green email chain, complete with Chen's own approved RC signature at the bottom. The blood drained from Chen's face so fast, even the cops took a step back. Agent Williams whistled. Oof, that's not just a firing offense, that's a hope you like orange jumpsuits offense. Outside, the crowd of former customers had turned into an impromptu protest, chanting, "Shut it down." As news helicopters circled, the bank's own digital billboard meant to display interest rates glitched and started flashing #BankingWhileBlack instead. Then the moment that broke Chen completely. Maria Gonzalez, the new branch manager, stepped forward in her teller's uniform she hadn't even had time to change. President Chen. Her voice shook, but her spine was steel. I processed Gregory's loan denials. The real numbers are worse. She pulled a flash drive from her pocket. Every application he touched for 3 years. The lawyers collectively groaned. Eleanor took the drive with a solemn nod. Maria Gonzalez, hero of the day. She turned to Chen. Your move, Robert. Full cooperation or... She gestured to the Wall Street Journal reporter now live streaming from the lobby. Trial by Twitter. Chen's shoulders slumped. The fight drained out of him like a tapped keg. "Name your terms," he whispered. Eleanor smiled. "All denied applicants get reconsidered, all employees retrained. And you," she said, pointing to the bank's vault, "personally hand-deliver every restitution check." As the crowd erupted in cheers, Zoe's livestream hit 1 million views. And Gregory, watching the news on a jailhouse TV, he finally understood the real cost of discrimination. It wasn't just losing his job. It was watching the janitor who'd mopped floors for 20 years get approved for a small business loan on national television. Poetic justice indeed. The silence that followed was so absolute you could hear the click of Maria Gonzalez's sensible work heels as she stepped forward, the same shoes she'd polished every morning for 18 months, while Gregory mocked her accent in the break room. Now they echoed like gunshots across the marble floor as she walked right past Chen to stand beside Eleanor. "Miss Gonzalez," Eleanor said, handing her a badge so new it still gleamed. "Senior branch manager now, with signing authority on that $5 million community fund." She paused, letting that sink in. "And a seat on Liberty Trust's Diversity Oversight Committee, with veto power." Chen's lawyers made simultaneous choking noises. Then the twist that sent Zoe's livestream into meltdown. The bank's own digital signage, which usually displayed mortgage rates, flickered and changed to a single message in blazing red letters. "Liberty Trust under new management. First order of business approving every single pending minority-owned business loan." The crowd exploded. Someone started singing "Na Na Hey Hey Kiss Him Goodbye" as Gregory was led out in cuffs. Mrs. Patterson, now perched on Kevin's abandoned desk like a queen holding court, waved her cane at Chen. "Robert, honey, cancel my accounts. I'm moving my $2 million to Maria's new community bank." Chen looked like he might pass out. Agent Williams chose that moment to drop the final bomb. "Oh, and Mr. Chen, the FBI also wants a word." He held up a warrant. Turns out Gregory wasn't the only one playing fast and loose with federal regulations. Outside, the protest had turned into a block party. Food trucks, all minority-owned, naturally rolled up to feed the crowd. The local news anchor, caught on camera taking a bite of a taco, mumbled through a full mouth, "This is what real community banking looks like." And Maria, she took her new badge, walked straight to Gregory's old office, and yanked his nameplate off the door with a crunch that sounded like justice. Eleanor's phone buzzed again with a call from the White House. She answered on speaker for the whole world to hear. "A next audit, actually, Mr. President. I think we just wrote the playbook." As the sun set on Liberty Trust, its gleaming logo now overshadowed by a handmade, under new management banner, one thing was clear. The era of banking while black was over. And Gregory, his new LinkedIn headline said it all. Former banking professional, currently exploring new opportunities, non-federal prison preferred. Poetic justice. The bank's glass doors hadn't even finished closing behind Eleanor when the revolution went viral. Maria Gonzalez now. Manager Gonzalez immediately commandeered Gregory's abandoned office, her first act being to rip down the Employee of the Month photos, all white men in identical navy suits, and replace them with printouts of the live stream's most iconic moments. The caption, "Meet your new diversity committee." Then the twist that made even Agent Williams do a double take. The bank's own Twitter account, previously a graveyard of bland rate updates, suddenly came alive with a flurry of tweets. "I'm breaking Liberty Trust announces immediate approval of all pending minority business loans, plus $5 million community fund. New era. We welcome our new branch manager, Maria Gonzalez, she, her, who started as a teller 18 months ago. Promotion justice. EPSA former manager Gregory Caldwell does not represent our values. We're better than this." Banking for all. The social media team, a 19-year-old intern named Jamal, who'd been accidentally live-streaming the whole thing from the break room. Outside, the impromptu block party reached fever pitch. The same food truck owner Gregory had denied a loan last week pulled up with free justice tacos for the crowd, his approved loan letter taped proudly to the window. Local politicians elbowed each other to get in frame behind Maria, as she gave her first press conference from the bank steps using Gregory's own silver nameplate as a microphone stand. Eleanor watched from the curb, sipping the coffee Agent Williams had finally remembered to bring her. "Think we overdid it," she mused, nodding to where Mrs. Patterson was leading protesters in a rewritten version of "We Shall Overcome." "We got approved," Williams snorted. "Nah, this is just phase 1. He tapped his tablet where alerts from 8 other Federal Reserve investigations blinked urgently. Turns out Gregory wasn't the only manager with a type. As their government sedan pulled away, one final scene unfolded in the rearview mirror. President Chen, now stripped of his tie and dignity, personally hauling boxes of paperwork to a waiting DOJ van while the janitor he'd ignored for years held the door open with a smirk. And Gregory? His last appearance was a single frame on CNBC's ticker, "Disgraced bank manager indicted on 17 counts of civil rights violations. Trial set for June." Eleanor's phone buzzed again, but this time it wasn't the White House. It was Maria, the text a single photo. Gregory's empty chair in the lobby now occupied by a 6-year-old black girl from the neighborhood grinning ear to ear as she approved her first imaginary loan. The caption, "Meet your future branch manager. We are watching." Somewhere a new generation of bankers was taking notes, and the old guard. They were too busy updating their resumes. The once sterile bank lobby now buzzed with the energy of a community center, its walls adorned with photos of the 43 businesses that had blossomed from Maria's approvals. The scent of fresh paint mixed with the aroma of Honduran coffee. Courtesy of the Rivera family's new cafe. Their loan approval letter framed proudly beside the espresso machine they'd installed in the waiting area. Then the twist that would have made Gregory choke on his cheap insurance salesman coffee. The door chimed, and in walked none other than Dr. Richardson herself this time. Not in a hoodie, but a sharp blazer flanked by a delegation from the Harvard Business Review. "Maria," she said with a grin, "meet the team writing our case study, How to Fix Banking's Diversity Problem in One Viral Afternoon." Maria's response was perfect. She gestured to the digital display tracking their 87% minority loan approval rate, higher than any branch in the state. "We could have told you the secret years ago," she laughed. "Just listen to the people you used to ignore." Across town, Gregory's new office, a folding table in a supermarket parking lot, was doing less stellar business. His Liberty Trust special insurance policies weren't selling, largely because everyone recognized him from the memes. Gregory's premium coverage. One viral post joked, "Guaranteed to deny all claims from your type of people." Back at the bank, David Torres was hosting his most unexpected client yet, Kevin Walsh, the former assistant manager, now begging for a small business loan to open, of all things, a diversity training consultancy. "I've learned my lesson," Kevin pleaded, sliding across a business plan titled "How Not to Be a Kevin." Maria approved it on the spot at prime, plus 2%. "For irony tax," she whispered to David. As the Harvard team interviewed Mrs. Patterson, now the bank's official grandma in residence, the real victory became clear. This wasn't just one bank's transformation. It was a blueprint. Eleanor's phone buzzed again, this time with a photo from Agent Williams' 20 other banks, their lobbies now packed with minority applicants, their managers sweating through mandatory bias training. The caption, "Domino Effect." You should see Chase's new community fund. They're calling it the Gregory Caldwell Memorial Make It Right Grant. Somewhere a new generation of bankers was learning the real bottom line. Discrimination costs. But integrity, that pays compound interest. And Gregory, last we heard he'd switched careers again to used car sales. His first Yelp review, "Would not recommend this dealer. He tried to tell me the Prius was too ambitious for someone like me." Poetic justice. The bank's anniversary celebration was in full swing when the unlikeliest guest arrived, Gregory Caldwell himself, now sporting a diversity consultant badge from the very training program he'd once mocked. He hovered near the punch bowl like a ghost of banking past, watching Maria Gonzalez cut the ribbon on their new Community Empowerment Wing, while Senator Washington FaceTimed in from Capitol Hill. Then the twist no one expected. Gregory stepped forward, clearing his throat. The room fell silent. I owe this branch an apology, he stammered, pulling a folded check from his pocket. My first commission check from Kevin's diversity firm. Thought it belonged here. He slid it toward the community fund, a measly $1 or $200, but the gesture made headlines anyway. Maria, ever the professional, didn't miss a beat. Thank you, Gregory. We'll put this toward our Don't Be a Gregory Scholarship Fund. The crowd howled. Across the room, Zoe Chen, now with press credentials dangling from her blazer, whispered to her cameraman, "Get this. The Smithsonian wants his apology for their civil rights exhibit, too." The real victory came moments later when President Chen took the stage not with corporate platitudes, but with actual tears. 2 years ago, this branch was a national disgrace, he admitted, gripping the podium. Today, we're the only bank where minority loan applications outnumber white ones. He gestured to the lobby, now packed with entrepreneurs of every color. This is what real banking looks like. Outside, the block party had become an annual tradition. The Rivera family's cafe truck doled out approval arepas, while the black teen tech startup demoed their new app, Bank While Black, a Yelp-style review system for financial institutions. Even Kevin Walsh had set up a booth, former banking bro ask me anything about white privilege. As the celebration wound down, Eleanor Richardson's phone buzzed with one final message, a photo from Agent Williams. It showed Gregory back at his used car lot now with a handwritten sign, "Every application approved. Seriously, the feds are watching." The caption. Reformed mostly. Somewhere a new generation of bankers was learning the most valuable lesson of all. Change is possible, but it tastes even sweeter with a side of justice. The marble floors of the Federal Reserve headquarters gleamed as Dr. Amelia Richardson, now Director Richardson, stepped onto the international stage, her hoodie replaced by a sharp blazer, but her resolve unchanged. The Richardson Protocol wasn't just American policy anymore. It was a global standard printed in 12 languages and displayed proudly in banks from Toronto to Tokyo. Then the twist that made even hardened bureaucrats gasp. A surprise video call flashed across the auditorium screens, Maria Gonzalez beaming from her corner office at Liberty Trust's corporate headquarters, where she now served as Chief Diversity Officer. "Director Richardson," she announced, "we just hit $1 billion in minority business loans with a 97% repayment rate." The room erupted. Even the stone-faced Swiss bankers clapped. Back in D.C., Zoe Chen, now an Emmy-winning correspondent, was preparing a special report on the investigation's 5th anniversary. Her cameraman zoomed in on an unexpected detail, Gregory's actual nameplate from that fateful day, now displayed in the National Museum of African American History with a simple caption, "A relic of banking's past." But the real victory came from an unexpected quarter. President Chen, former President Chen, now had reinvented himself as a diversity consultant. His most requested keynote, titled, "How Getting Humiliated on Livestream Saved My Soul." His latest client, Gregory's new employer, a fintech startup specializing in AI-powered bias detection. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. As Eleanor left the podium, her phone buzzed with a text from Agent Williams, a photo of Mrs. Patterson, now 76, teaching financial literacy classes at the local community center using Gregory's own training materials. The caption. The student became the master. Somewhere a new generation of bankers was learning the most valuable lesson. Justice compounds and prejudice. That always goes overdraft. The ripple effects of that single afternoon had become a tidal wave of change, washing through industries far beyond banking. In Detroit, auto dealerships now displayed Richardson ratings, real-time diversity scores tracked by the same AI that had transformed Liberty Trust. In Silicon Valley, tech giants adopted Amelia alerts to flag biased hiring practices before offers went out. Even the hallowed halls of Congress had changed with Senator Washington's Banking Equality Act, now expanded into the Richardson Civil Rights Documentation Act, requiring body cameras for all federal compliance officers. Then the twist that would have made Gregory spit out his coffee. A viral TikTok trend had emerged doing a Richardson where Gen Z activists documented discrimination with cheeky captions like, "Smile, you're on federal camera." The most popular, a barista in training recording her manager refusing to serve a black customer, only to reveal her customer was Agent Williams in disguise, flashing his badge with a smirk. Back at Liberty Trust, now rebranded as Liberty for All Trust. The revolution had come full circle. Maria Gonzalez stood before a new higher orientation, pointing to a framed screenshot from Zoe's live stream. This, so she told wide-eyed trainees, is how not to bank. The Gregory Corner, as employees called it, had become their most powerful training tool, complete with his infamous nameplate mounted upside down. But the real victory came from the unlikeliest source. Gregory himself, now a highly compensated diversity consultant, irony being a lucrative business, had become the most requested speaker at banking conferences. His signature keynote, "How Being Cancelled Saved My Career and Soul." As Eleanor scrolled through her phone, now buzzing with alerts from the global rollout of her protocol, one notification stood out: a photo from Mrs. Patterson's 77th birthday party. There sat Gregory cutting cake alongside Maria Zoe and the Rivera family, his world's okayest ally, mug raised in toast. The caption said it all. Turns out redemption is FDIC insured. Somewhere a new generation of activists was learning the most valuable lesson. Justice compounds, prejudice bounces, and courage. That always clears. Now your turn. What injustice will you document today? The comments are waiting. The world is watching. And change. It's always one viral moment away. Gregory's smirk widened as he leaned against his desk, the picture of condescension. "Let's be crystal clear, banks run on merit, not fairy tales," he declared, tapping Eleanor's file with a manicured fingernail. "You can't just waltz in here with some half-baked initiative and expect us to hand over millions like it's a damn charity raffle." The lobby's air grew heavier, thick with the unspoken tension of a dozen phones now recording. Security guard Luis Rivera, a former Marine with a sixth sense for impending disasters, edged closer, his hand hovering near his radio. There was something about Dr. Shaw's stillness that set off alarms. Most people crumbled under Gregory's brand of humiliation, but she just waited like a chess player who'd already seen 10 moves ahead. Then with deliberate slowness, she unzipped her portfolio. The glint of a black Amex Centurion card caught the light, flashing like a silent grenade. Gregory's assistant manager, Rebecca, paled. "Sir," she whispered, "that card requires $250,000 in annual spending just to qualify." Eleanor finished for her, her voice smooth as polished steel. She tilted her head, feigning innocence. "But surely, Mr. Caldwell, you already verified that in my fraudulent bank statements." A nervous titter rippled through the crowd. Over by the loan desk, Javier Mendez choked back a laugh, earning a glare from Gregory. The branch manager's face flushed beet red, his rehearsed script crumbling faster than his dignity. "This proves nothing," he spluttered. "Anyone can fake." The doors burst open again. This time it was a news crew, camera lights blazing, mic flags bearing the logo of a major network. A sharply dressed reporter zeroed in on Zoe's live stream, now trending with "banking while black," as the anchor murmured into her headset. "We're live at Liberty Trust, where allegations of racial profiling are going viral." Gregory's jaw dropped. "What the hell is this?" Eleanor finally stood, her 5'4" frame somehow towering in the chaos. "Transparency, remember." She flashed a smile colder than the vault behind her. "Funny how quickly protocols change when the whole country's watching." Then the twist no one saw coming. From the back of the lobby, a frail voice piped up. "I've banked here for 40 years. quavered Mr. Henderson, the elderly black man everyone ignored at the safe deposit boxes. He shuffled forward, gripping his cane like a weapon. "And I've never seen such disgraceful behavior from a so-called professional." He pointed at Gregory with a trembling finger. "You just lost my family's 3 generations of business." The room erupted. Customers surged toward the exit, some shouting, others dialing attorneys. Rebecca frantically whispered into her headset, "Legal needs to get here now." And Gregory, for the first time in his life, the man who'd built his career on knowing his place, realized with stomach-churning clarity that his place was about to be the unemployment line. Meanwhile, Eleanor tapped a single number into her phone. "Put it on speaker and let the FBI's hold music serenade the entire lobby." Gregory's finger was still hovering over the phone's end call button when the first sirens wailed in the distance. He straightened his tie, the smug satisfaction of a man who'd just called in an airstrike on a butterfly. 10 minutes, he announced, as if he'd summoned the cavalry and not the NYPD's most overworked precinct. "Then we'll see how confident you feel in handcuffs." Eleanor didn't move. She just reached into her portfolio and slid a single sheet of paper across the desk, a document so innocuous it might as well have been a grocery list. Gregory glanced down, expecting more fraudulent bank statements. Instead, he found himself staring at a congressional letterhead, the seal of the U.S. House Committee on Financial Services, glaring up at him like a judge's gavel. A subject: federal audit of Liberty Trust's community lending practices. The blood drained from Gregory's face so fast it was a miracle he didn't pass out. Over by the windows, Luis Rivera, the security guard who'd seen combat in Fallujah, actually snorted. "Oh, this'll be good," he muttered, crossing his arms. Eleanor tapped the date on the letter. "Notice how this was issued 3 weeks ago. Funny story, your corporate office conveniently forgot to inform local branches." She leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper only Gregory could hear. "Or maybe they wanted to see which managers would hang themselves when a black woman walked in asking for fair treatment." The lobby erupted. Zoe's live stream hit 15K viewers as the Channel 7 news van screeched to a curb outside, camera crews tumbling out like clowns from a circus car. Then the twist that even Eleanor hadn't planned. From the employee break room, a shrill alarm blared. The bank's internal emergency alert, a sound none of the customers recognized but every staff member knew, meant corporate lockdown. Rebecca, the assistant manager, gasped as her tablet lit up with a company-wide notification. All Liberty Trust branches immediate freeze on managerial discretionary actions pending federal review. CEO en route to NYC location. Gregory's phone buzzed. The caller ID: regional VP terminations. Outside, 2 police cruisers pulled up, but so did a black SUV with government plates. A tall woman in a pantsuit stepped out, flashing a badge at the confused officers. "Stand down, gentlemen. This is now a civil rights investigation." Eleanor finally stood, smoothing her jacket. "Oh, Gregory." She paused, savoring the way his name tasted like ashes. "Meet Special Agent Diaz. She's been very interested in your protocols since that live stream went viral 9 minutes ago." And just like that, the man who'd spent 23 years playing gatekeeper realized the gates had just slammed shut on him. Somewhere in the chaos, old Mr. Henderson cackled, raising his coffee cup in a toast. "Karma's a bitch, ain't she?" The silence in the lobby was so thick you could hear Gregory's expensive tie clip hit the desk as he slumped into his chair, flipping open Eleanor's folder with all the enthusiasm of a man signing his own divorce papers. The first page alone should have sent him scrambling for an apology. A Forbes profile photo of Eleanor shaking hands with the Treasury Secretary stared back at him, the headline screaming, "Dr. Shaw's 200-meter Urban Revitalization Fund, how one economist is rewriting the rules of community banking." But Gregory, ever the architect of his own demise, skipped straight to the financials. His finger trembled as it traced the numbers. This can't be right," he muttered. Eleanor arched an eyebrow. problem with my fraudulent liquid assets, Mr. Caldwell? Or is it the 3 offshore accounts you definitely verified earlier? A strangled noise escaped Gregory's throat. Over his shoulder, Rebecca, the assistant manager, who'd suddenly remembered she had student loans to pay, leaned in and gasped. "Sir, that's a 14 million Merrill Lynch holding." The lobby doors flew open again, but this time it wasn't the cops or the news crew. A silver-haired man in a bespoke suit stormed in, flanked by 2 stone-faced lawyers. The collective gasp from the staff was louder than the door slam. Charles Whitmore, Liberty Trust's CEO. Gregory shot up like his chair was electrified. "Sir, I can explain." Whitmore didn't even glance at him. He beelined to Eleanor, hand extended. "Dr. Shaw, my deepest apologies. We explicitly informed branches about your audit after last quarter's unfortunate incident in Atlanta." His glare at Gregory could have melted steel. This gentleman, however, seems to have missed the memo. The twist. From the crowd, a teenage boy, Zoe's little brother who'd slipped in with the news crew, yelled, "Yo, this dude's getting fired on live, 50K viewers, my guy." Gregory's phone rang. The caller ID wife. He declined the call, then wife again, and again. Eleanor finally let pity creep into her voice. "Oh, I'd answer that. Karen's probably watching your performance on CNN right now." She snapped her portfolio shut. "Funny how transparency works, isn't it?" Outside, a Channel 7 reporter shoved a mic in Whitmore's face. "Sir, does Liberty Trust routinely profile black clients?" The CEO's response, broadcast live to 2.3 million Twitter feeds, would haunt HR departments for decades. "No. But we do fire managers who make us look like racist idiots on national television." And as the police finally entered, not to arrest Eleanor, but to escort Gregory out, old Mr. Henderson's laughter echoed through the vaulted ceilings. "Told y'all," he wheezed to no one in particular, "that white boy was seasoned wrong." The only thing left? The chime of Eleanor's phone, another call from the Treasury Department. This time she answered. "Yes, Director." "Oh, another bank needs auditing." She locked eyes with Whitmore. "How convenient." Gregory's mouth opened and closed like a fish stranded on marble as Officer Martinez scanned the room, his gaze skipping right over Eleanor to land on the real threat, the dozen phones still recording the news crew's camera lights now flooding the lobby. "You called 911 about this?" Martinez asked, jerking his chin toward Eleanor's open folder where a Treasury Department badge glinted under the fluorescence. Before Gregory could spit out another lie, Eleanor stood smoothing her hoodie like it was a power suit. "Officers, I believe there's been a misunderstanding." She slid a business card across the desk. Martinez picked it up, blinked, then passed it to his partner like it might explode. Dr. Eleanor Shaw, Senior Economic Advisor, U.S. House Financial Services Committee. The younger cop, Johnson, actually snorted. "Bro, you called the cops on Congress." Gregory's phone chose that moment to erupt, not with a call, but a tsunami of notifications. Fire Gregory Caldwell was now trending nationally. His screen flashed with a text from his golf buddy at Corporate Dude. "CNBC just picked up the stream. CEO's jet is en route." Run. Then the twist even Eleanor didn't see coming. A commotion at the door. A woman in a sharp pantsuit marched in, flanked by suits carrying briefcases stamped U.S. Department of Justice. "Gregory Caldwell," she called out, voice slicing through the chaos. "We're here for the whistleblower documents you requested about Liberty Trust's discriminatory lending practices." She paused, feigning confusion at the cameras. "Oh, you didn't leak those internal emails to the FBI last week." Gregory made a noise like a deflating balloon. Eleanor bit her lip to keep from laughing. Whistleblower brilliant. The DOJ team, actually her old colleagues from law school, played their parts perfectly, accidentally, flashing a folder labeled Caldwell Evidence at the news cameras. Martinez backed away slowly, hands up. "Ma'am." he said to Eleanor, suddenly very polite. "You're free to go." He shot Gregory a look usually reserved for subway flashers. "But, sir, you might want to lawyer up." The lobby erupted. Zoe's live stream hit 250K viewers. Mrs. Patterson started passing out homemade cookies to the cops. And Gregory. He finally did what he should have done an hour ago, collapsed into his chair, staring at his LinkedIn profile, auto-updating to "open to work." Eleanor gathered her things, pausing only to drop one last bomb. "Oh, Gregory, that community fund you mocked." She smiled sweetly. "It just approved its first loan, $5 million to buy this branch and fire everyone." As she walked out, the entire staff burst into applause. Even the vault seemed to cheer. Gregory's polished leather shoes suddenly seemed very interesting as he stared at them, his face the color of spoiled milk. The Federal Reserve badge in Officer Martinez's hands might as well have been a live grenade. Everyone in the lobby instinctively took a step back except for Mrs. Patterson, who marched forward like a silver-haired avenger. "I knew it," she crowed, waving her cane at Gregory. "I've been telling corporate for years this branch reeked of discrimination." Then the twist that sent the live stream into meltdown. A sharp ding echoed through the bank as the employee entrance flew open. In stumbled Kevin, the assistant manager, his tie askew, clutching a ream of printed emails. "Sir, I found these in your deleted folder." He froze, realizing the scene he'd just interrupted, the cops, the cameras, his boss looking like he'd been slapped by the invisible hand of the market. Eleanor plucked the papers from Kevin's shaking hands. "Ah, the code green emails." She held up a sheet for the cameras where Gregory's own words glared back in black and white. "Deny all minority biz apps over 500K, cite insufficient collateral. Referrals only for golf club members." The lobby erupted. Zoe's stream hit 500K viewers as the hashtag Code Green started trending. Officer Martinez slowly turned to Gregory, his voice dripping with mock sympathy. "Sir, you have the right to remain silent, though." He glanced at the roaring crowd. "Good luck with that." Gregory made one last desperate play, lunging for his desk phone, probably to call some golf buddy at corporate. But Luis, the security guard, blocked him with a forearm thicker than Gregory's ego. "Nah, man," Luis growled. "I quit live on TikTok 2 minutes ago." He pointed to his own phone propped on a chair where his resignation video was already notching 100K likes. Eleanor let the chaos simmer before dropping her final bomb. She pulled out a second badge, this one from the DOJ, and flashed it at the cameras. "Oh, and Gregory, that whistleblower protection we discussed, totally fake," she grinned. "But those 17 discrimination cases painfully real." As the cuffs clicked shut, Mrs. Patterson handed Eleanor a cookie from her purse. "Honey," she whispered, "you give good audit." Outside, the CEO's limo screeched to a halt right behind a fleet of news vans. By midnight, Liberty Trust's stock would plummet 18%. And Gregory, he finally learned what real collateral damage felt like. Gregory's hand shook so violently he nearly dropped the phone. The moment he swiped to answer, the bank president's voice exploded through the speaker on full volume thanks to a conveniently timed glitch. "Caldwell, you imbecile, you just made us the face of banking racism on national TV." The lobby erupted in gasps. Even the cops winced. Over by the vault, Luis muttered, "Damn, my drill sergeant never yelled like that." Eleanor, no. Dr. Richardson, now in full federal badass mode, leaned in just close enough for the mic to catch her whisper. "Put him on speaker, Gregory, unless you're scared of transparency." Gregory's finger hovered over the button. The entire lobby held its breath. Then, click. Bank President Chen's tirade went nuclear. "We're getting sued into oblivion. The board is furious. Do you have any idea how many?" Eleanor cleared her throat loudly. A beat of silence, then cautiously. "Dr. Richardson." "Hey, hello, Robert," she said sweetly. "Funny story, your star manager just called the police on a federal investigation you were CC'd on last month." She paused, letting that land. Twice. The thud from Chen's end suggested he'd either collapsed or thrown something expensive. "Caldwell, you're fired. Clear out your desk in 5 minutes before security escorts you out." Then the twist that broke the internet. From the back office, a printer suddenly whirred to life. Everyone turned as Kevin, the assistant manager, sheepishly held up a freshly printed sheet. Corporate just company-wide emailed Gregory's termination notice." He gulped, and his login was remotely disabled. Zoe's livestream comments went berserk. OMG, they fired him via printer. Gregory stood frozen, his entire career evaporating before him. But Eleanor wasn't done. She turned to Kevin with a smile that could curdle milk. "Congratulations, acting manager Walsh. Your first task." She gestured to the still recording cameras. "Apologize to every customer this branch ever wronged, starting with them." She pointed to the bulletproof glass where Maria Gonzalez had finally cracked. Tears streaming down her face, she slammed her cash drawer shut with a bang and marched out, ripping off her Liberty Trust lanyard mid-stride. "No mass," she yelled, flinging it at Gregory's feet. "I quit too." The lobby exploded in cheers. Mrs. Patterson started a slow clap. Even Officer Martinez nodded approvingly. And as the news camera zoomed in on Gregory's shattered expression, one final notification popped up on Zoe's phone. "POTUS just quoted your stream. This is why we need the Banking Equality Act." Somewhere, a single tumbleweed rolled through Gregory's empty office. His fancy ergonomic chair was already on Craigslist. Gregory's designer tie suddenly felt like a noose as the bank president's voice boomed through the speakerphone. "Dr. Richardson, I'm dispatching our corporate jet immediately. The entire board wants to meet with you personally too." Eleanor held up a hand. "That won't be necessary, Robert." She glanced at her watch. "Actually, your entire executive team should be receiving subpoenas right about now." As if on cue, phones across the lobby began pinging like a slot machine payout. Kevin, the newly promoted and thoroughly doomed acting manager, looked at his screen and turned ghost white. It's HR," he squeaked. "Mandatory ethics training for all staff effective immediately." Then the twist that broke Gregory completely. A sharp ding announced a new arrival. The doors slid open to reveal none other than Marcus Williams himself, FSA jacket, aviator shades, and the kind of swagger that only comes from knowing you're the baddest guy in any room. He didn't even glance at Gregory, just strolled straight to Eleanor and handed her a Starbucks cup. "Caramel macchiato extra shot," he said deadpan. "Like you texted me right before this clown." He jerked a thumb at Gregory. "Called 911 on my investigation." The lobby lost it. Zoe's live stream hit 1 million views as comments exploded. "They're FBI besties, and this is better than Netflix." Gregory made a sound like a deflating balloon. Eleanor took a leisurely sip of her coffee before turning to Officer Martinez. "Oh, and about those fraud charges," she smirked. "We're flipping them." Williams pulled out a warrant with a flourish. "Gregory Caldwell, you're under investigation for bank fraud, civil rights violations, and..." He squinted at the document. "Oh yeah, lying to federal agents. That last one's real fun." As the cuffs clicked shut, Mrs. Patterson suddenly produced a party horn from her purse and blew it triumphantly. "Justice tastes better than my famous peach cobbler." Outside, news helicopters circled. The Liberty Trust stock ticker on the lobby TV flashed 34% in blood-red numbers. And Gregory, he finally learned the hard way. When you play stupid games with the Federal Reserve, you win stupid prizes like a one-way ticket to a very small cell. Eleanor's phone buzzed. Another call from the Treasury Secretary. She answered on speaker for the whole world to hear. And next audit. "Oh, I've got just the bank in mind." The marble lobby of Liberty Trust had become a stage, and Gregory Caldwell was realizing far too late that he'd been cast as the villain in his own downfall. Agent Williams' polished dress shoes clicked ominously as he circled Gregory's desk like a shark. "Let me get this straight," he said, tapping a pen against his chin. You saw a black woman with perfect credit federal credentials and a black Amex. And your first thought was call the cops. The absurdity hung in the air like cheap cologne. Even the potted fern in the corner seemed to judge Gregory. Then the twist that sent Zoe's livestream into the stratosphere. A sharp ding from the elevator. Every head turned as none other than Senator Mitchell, yes, that Senator Mitchell, the one currently sponsoring the Banking Equality Act, strode into the chaos with a camera crew in tow. "Dr. Shaw," he boomed, extending his hand. "Just saw the stream. Perfect timing. We're voting on my bill tomorrow." He turned to the news cameras, his politician's smile dialed to 11. "This is exactly why we need tougher penalties for discriminatory lending." Gregory made a noise like a stepped-on whoopee cushion. Eleanor, no Dr. Shaw, played along beautifully. "Senator, you'll love this." She pulled out Gregory's now infamous Code Green emails. Seems Liberty Trust had a system for keeping loans away from certain demographics. The senator's gasp was Oscar-worthy. "My God. This is textbook institutional racism." He turned to the cameras, the picture of righteous fury. "Viewers at home, check your bank statements. If you've been denied loans unfairly, call my office immediately." Somewhere in the back, Kevin, the assistant manager, quietly updated his LinkedIn, "Open to career changes, any career changes." Agent Williams chose that moment to make it official. "Gregory Caldwell, you're under arrest for obstruction of justice and civil rights violations." The cuffs clicked with finality. "You have the right to remain silent, though, frankly," he added, glancing at the 23 phone still recording. "Nothing you say could make this worse." As Williams led Gregory away, Mrs. Patterson broke out a full bag of party favors, streamers, noisemakers, the works. "I've been waiting 41 years for this," she cackled, tossing confetti in Gregory's path like he was a disgraced parade float. The final nail, Liberty Trust's own stock ticker on the lobby TV now flashing. 48% largest single-day drop in bank history. Eleanor took one last sip of her coffee, savoring the moment. Then her phone buzzed, another call from the Treasury Secretary. She answered on speaker, her voice dripping with sweet irony. "In next audit." "Actually, sir, I think I'll take a vacation, maybe visit Gregory's former golf club." The lobby erupted in cheers, and somewhere in a holding cell, a single tear rolled down Gregory's cheek right onto his freshly printed mugshot.